Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode 24 of the Get Hitched live wedding chat show. Today, we're going to have an interesting episode. We have a special guest. Her name is Alexandra Pace, and she is a photographer and the founder of APerfectDay. She focuses a lot with natural photography, contemporary. She loves weddings, events, anything. As usual, I want to say a quick thank you to everyone watching our shows, putting in questions, feedback, anything. And if you have any questions during this show, please put them while we are live so we can have Alexandra discuss and answer for you if there's anything you need help with. In the meantime, I am going to invite Alexandra in. So let's give her a quick hello. Hi.
Hi, Alberta. Hi, everyone.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Very well.
Super,
Nice to
super,
be here.
super. So first off, yes, thank you for accepting our invitation to be on today's show. There are quite a number of questions we've put in the agenda for you. But I mean, how's your week been so far?
So far, so good. Enjoying a little bit of cool down of this weather,
Yeah.
even though it's sad to see summer go. But anyway.
Yes, yes. I mean, I'm a fan of winter. I'm a fan of cold weather. So for me, it's
Okay.
bring it on. Perhaps you could introduce yourself for our viewers so they can even know who you are, how you
Sure.
started.
Sure. Well, yes, photography is something that actually I've been doing for a very long time. This always belies my age, but I've actually been a photographer for the past 20 years.
Okay.
And actually, back when I had started, I was actually one of the very few, if not like one of two female photographers at the time, which is, of course, not at all the case nowadays, which is good, of course. But it is actually something which worked in my favor because people actually really used to remember me when they used to see me. Because they were not used to seeing sort of a woman holding a camera. So
Yeah.
that in the absence of Facebook and social media 20 years ago, I had my gender on my side. And sort of since then, I've been involved in many aspects, not only of photography but of sort of visual creative industries. But photography has always been sort of at the core of what I do, and sort of a bit of a backbone of what I do.
Cool. Okay. And could you explain to us a bit like the experience and the various forms of photography that you've done in your background?
Yes, of course. Well, when I started out, of course, I was doing everything that's anything that came my way. Eventually, of course, as I developed a much more sort of specific style. I did actually spend a very long time working in the commercial photography sector. So I used to do
Okay.
a lot of advertising campaigns for most of the big sort of brands locally. I used to do a lot of fashion work. I actually shot like 40 consecutive, no more, yeah, well, a large number of consecutive issues of sort of one particular magazine, cover stories and fashion editorials. I used to do a lot of travel photography. I used to shoot in sort of various countries, being sent here and there to shoot a lot of interiors, architecture,
Okay.
and stuff like that. So my skills in photography, or my experience in photography, are actually very broad. In fact, my most hated question is when someone tells me kind of what kind of photographer are you? Because as I say, I'm not any kind. I am the kind that I don't know, my work is my kind, sort
Yeah.
of thing. So
Okay. All right. Okay.
yeah, and nowadays I'm involved a lot in. I went there for a few years. I was also teaching photography at the university in various faculties.
Yes.
Nowadays, I even run a contemporary art space in Valletta. It goes by the name of Blitz. So my work, my experience actually touches a lot of various sort of genres and aspects of the creative work.
Okay, all right, amazing. And I'm glad you actually brought this brought this up with regards to the contemporary art project. I wanted to know,
Yes.
like, where the passion came from, for you to actually start on these projects.
I think I was always, and I still am always interested in anything that is quite experimental and
Okay.
sort of, sort of work or any kind of creative processes, art, photography, and many others that sort of very much maybe challenge the norm or challenge what is normally out there. And contemporary art by its very nature is very forward thinking, very very experimental, very much sort of challenges what came before.
All right. Okay. All right. Cool. Thank you very much for answering my first two questions. I am going to go into the third question. Again, I am going to mention to all the viewers watching that if you have any questions, you've worked on contemporary art projects, you are a photographer also, anything, please do drop them in. If you just tell us a quick hello and be able to give a bit of a shout out. Um, Going to the next question, Alexandra, I wanted to see exactly what drove you to begin now just in photography for weddings.
Yes. Um, it, I can actually remember the first wedding I shot, which was actually
Yeah,
quite a while ago, and it was with absolutely no intention of starting to work in the wedding industry.
yeah.
It was actually, I mentioned before that I used to do a lot of commercial work and advertising campaigns, and there was
Okay.
a client of mine who was getting married, and we used to do a lot of work together, and he absolutely, like, no, I had no choice, insisted that I would do his wedding. To which I said fine, but like I have not a single wedding photo to show you as
Yeah.
what I can do. And he said, I don't care, sort of. I don't want anyone else to do it but you. Which I did with a lot of stress,
Of
because at the
course.
end of the day, a wedding is nothing like anything else.
Yeah.
It's a very different type of work.
It's not like you
And
can tell
then
them to do like a read or listen, can you like kiss again
exactly,
over there,
yes,
like cut the cake again?
yes, yeah. And from that, of course, it became a bit of a case. So, oh, you've done his, so you have to do mine. Now you've done that, so come on, you've got to do. And so I started doing a lot for. Mostly they were sort of friends, people I knew or people I've worked
Yeah.
with before, and very much really at the time because they wanted something different to what was out there, in the sense that they wanted something that was very real, was very natural, was not intrusive to the actual process of the wedding. And sort of at that time, sort of very very few people were doing that. So it became kind of very much in demand in a sense, and it was a little bit kind of silly to say no,
Yeah.
sort of I kept doing it.
And it's become a bit of a core now for you. I mean, you do quite a lot of weddings now per
I
year.
do a lot of things. Yes, I mean, my work it comes from various types of photography, but yes, weddings still remain there, and generally, it is still for sort of people who really want sort of my style or
Yeah.
me, or sort of that's usually kind of the way it goes.
Okay.
Um,
All right. Okay. And just for everyone to know, my next question is going to be focusing on the style
yeah.
that Alexandra shoots. But before that, I do want to ask, like, what were the main challenges that you saw going from just the traditional photography that you were doing, as in like the commercials and all the things, going to a real-time event like a wedding?
Yeah, very simple. Lack of control. I mean, you have all other aspects of the work that I would be doing. It's very um, e- even though the style is not so, it can still be natural. You still have an element of control. Of preparing things. There's a certain amount of prep work and control through the shoot. Whereas with weddings or event based, I mean, you're at the mercy of anything that happens.
Okay. All right. Um, uh, Now going into the next question,
Yeah.
unless there's anything else you want to add with regards to like,
No,
okay,
we're
cool.
good. We're good.
Super, super. So now, yes, I do want to explain a bit to
I know
viewers.
you have a lot of questions, so
Don't worry, don't worry. This next question with regards to style of photography, I did want to ask it for you, especially since we're going to be adding this interview to your profile. So any couple that is coming to say, listen, let's have a look at Alexandra's work, they'd understand the style. Because if I want like the standard, I want to pose by the door, have sort of like something on my shoulder. Like, I don't feel that you would be the right photographer for that. But I do feel that you'd be the right photographer where I literally sort of want you to capture like that smile when me and him just smiled and had that moment and you were there and you captured it.
yes. I mean, I think it's things have come a very long way now, and I think one of the best things is the fact that there is a lot of choice. Sort of there are a number of photographers who have their own style, and I think that's a great thing because not everybody is the same, and therefore you need to be a good match with your photographer. Um, and I think it's important that your photographer communicates what you want and what years later you still want to look at and identify with at the end of the day. My work is very, I like to call it very real. It's very natural, it's very candid. It is really a matter of being very, very, very observant and looking for those moments where um, you know something should be captured, something should be shot. I kind of work in a way which is as non-intrusive as possible.
Okay.
Thankfully, I'm not very tall, so I don't show a lot, in the situation. I choose to have very sort of, compact equipment, so I'm not, running around. I'm not so visible. I can blend in with people. I can, people feel comfortable with me around. There isn't this sort of I don't know, presence intimidating. And I think that kind of approach, that way of doing things, sort of allows me to capture that style that I look for.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
and it really is a matter of sort of if the person is looking for that, then they're very comfortable with having me around.
Okay. All right. Okay. I do have another question for you. Again, with regards to weddings, are there certain criterias that you look for when you're going to go and do a wedding nowadays? And are there any certain criteria that you'd recommend for couples to look for in a photographer?
Yeah, I mean, for me, meeting a client first and foremost is the most important thing because, I mean, at the end of the day, we have to spend the day together.
Most
You know,
important day for a lot of people.
yes, exactly. And it's not simply a matter of you being happy with what I will pass on to you after the day. It's also you being feeling like comfortable with me being in your home, and then and very being present in some very kind of personal moments as well. So I think I can't say that there's something specific that I would look for, but I think that sort of
You need to
I don't
connect.
know, that dynamic I think makes a big difference. I mean, I said before that when I first started, I used to do mostly for it started mostly with people I knew and friends and things like that. And obviously at some point they all got married, then I started doing work for strangers, so
Yeah.
to speak. So for me, that was actually a very big difference in dynamic, of course, because before, I mean, I would be at the event, that very often I may be at anyway. So
And you probably
so
know everyone around as well.
yeah, in a way, sometimes I still do, but especially then, So, for example, for people to be silly in front of the camera or this, that, and the other, it would come just really naturally.
Yeah.
Whereas nowadays, they're not going to be silly because they know me, they're going to be silly because they feel comfortable. So that makes a
Okay.
very big difference.
All right. Okay. Okay. I don't know if you mind me asking this question. I know I didn't mention it before, so if you don't want to, if you just want to skip it, go for it. But how has 2020 been for you, like personally
Wait,
and business-wise?
let me drink some water first.
They say it's bad luck to do cheese with water.
I
Oh,
know. Well, I mean, 2020, I think, has been the same for everyone. It's been a very difficult year. In terms of work, in terms of business, I mean, last weekend I actually shot the one and only wedding which was not postponed for me.
yes.
Yes, the
Okay.
only one.
Okay.
Every single anything which I had for the second half of the year was either
Postponed to
postponed
next year.
or cancelled because
Okay.
I do a lot of destination weddings. So I
Yeah.
shoot a lot of weddings for foreign couples coming to Malta and getting married here. So obviously those were the first to go off the table. Even when people could travel here, it was not viable for them to quarantine and all their guests to quarantine for weeks when they go back. So there were some which were actually outright cancelled.
Yeah.
And we still don't know if they will come here to have their wedding or sort of it. Um, but I guess I don't know. There's always some good to be had with the bads,
Yeah, I mean,
and
have you been working on any you've ended up with a lot of time on your hand, for sure. So have you put that into different projects or?
yes, yes, of course. I mean, sort of the gallery, the space that I run. We moved from exhibitions in the space to an online gallery and offsite projects around Valletta. So I'm not really one that lets time go idle and does nothing. So I went back to studying a few things which I never had time
Cool.
for. So I don't, while it was very difficult from a business point of view, of course, I think it did give me sort of the time and the headspace to, just sit back a little bit and
Evaluate, understand.
evaluate and exactly and understand. I think I consider myself to be quite lucky in a sense because I'm involved in a lot of things. I imagine that for anyone who is really sort of focused on one single thing that was hugely impacted, I'm sure it was a lot harder.
I see.
Sorry, that's my Siri thinking I'm talking to it.
Don't worry. Do you want to give the link out for people to have a look at the online gallery that you've set up?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the gallery I run is called Blitz Valletta, and if you go on blitzvalletta.com, you can see our projects over there, both what we've done
Cool.
in the gallery space and also the online projects that we are involved in.
Super,
Um,
super. Okay. In the post description for all our viewers, I have put Alexandra's Get Hitched profile. However, below, at the end of the show, Alexandra, do add your website and
yes,
add
sure,
even the online galleries for people to have a look. So I know it's
for
a
sure.
time that's the more exposure you can get, the better, especially in an artist's industry. It's being quite heavily affected, not just in photography, in any type of art. So in
Yes,
any
yes,
way possible,
completely,
even just having people coming to the site and having a look,
for
it's
sure,
always a plus.
for sure.
Um, with regards to the wedding that you did photograph recently, how was it
Yeah.
as an experience? I mean, it was a seated wedding.
Yes, yes, yes. It was a seated wedding. It was held at Palazzo Parisio, so it's a large garden. There's enough space
Yeah,
for there to be a substantial amount of people without most of them being close together.
yeah,
Um, I think, I mean, in general, I mean, of course, I'm not, the couple, and I don't know what their initial plans may have been. I'm just arriving into something as it happens to happen.
Yeah.
So in general, it's almost looked and felt like a normal sort of seated wedding. You do have like little, giveaways, like a bottle of hand sanitizer on the altar, for example, which was
Really?
which you kind
Bonus.
of then you see it and you think, oh yeah, so okay, this is sort of circumstances are a little different. There was another. Yes, when they walked into the venue, like the couple had their temperatures checked simultaneously. Then and actually, see, apart from those two little instances, um, it's a kind of almost feels
Normal.
okay. And normal is a big word, but
Okay.
yes,
Yes.
you, people wear masks to get up and walk,
Yes.
off the table. But in general, I don't know. It is a shame that people can't, of course, dance and party, and
Yeah.
because that's. I mean, as a photographer, the worst time is when nothing is happening because there's sort of
No action sort of for you
yeah,
to go
there's
and get.
nothing to do. And in general, I mean, in all honesty, I mean, seated weddings are the least. Actually, the problem with a seated wedding goes against everything that I was saying before, because in a seated wedding, I am very visible walking around, so it's a lot harder to blend in. It's a lot
Yeah.
harder to become part of the environment. It's a
You
lot
could just
harder
ask
to
for
shoot
some extra
that
chairs
natural.
here and there. You could ask for extra chairs,
Yeah.
like, "Hi there. Okay, so I've been here at the thing. How are you?"
Good plan. I'll keep that in mind for next time.
Uh, I mean, yes, weddings are a celebration, so we do want the celebrity part to come in. But I do believe that in a seated way, there still can be the
Yes, yes,
celebration
yes.
vibe. There's more time to talk, perhaps more speeches. Perhaps for a photographer, I do understand it could be a bit more challenging.
Yeah,
I mean, for a videographer, for example, he's still going to be able to capture like speeches and so on. So there's still going to be a lot of content. But
yeah,
photography,
yeah. Photography relies a bit more on
yeah,
spontaneous emotion sort of thing, which
yeah. All right, okay. I'm going to go back to the list of list of questions that I have for you. When couples come to contact you for the first time, do they know exactly what they're looking for when they contact you?
um, that's a good question, actually. I would say some yes, some no. And the reason I say, like, the ones which I would say no are really mostly the ones who are so kind of informal and relaxed, and do not want something that I'm not explaining this well, but sort of um, you end up realizing that when they don't know what they want, they are most probably my ideal clients, because
Okay,
usually the clients that really know what they want really want something of a very specific style, which is
okay,
not natural. So I mean,
okay,
sometimes. But having said that, the yes, like the people know what they want. Sometimes yes, sometimes people come and say, listen, I just want to be relaxed. I just want to feel that my photos look relaxed. That when I look at them in 5 years' time, I'm still happy to look at them. I don't want to feel like it's very staged, or that I want to spend a huge amount of time um, taking photographs.
instead of actually enjoying the day, right? Which is
Yes, yes. I
something I
mean,
think 20 years ago was quite popular, sort of like.
yes. And the thing is, at the end of the day, people always really want. How can I explain? Even if they sort of feel that maybe the photography is not that important, and I don't want to stay spending all my time posing for photos, after the day and after they've enjoyed their wedding, they're just dying to see their photo. So it's still very important to them. And sometimes they realize afterwards how
Yeah.
important they are to them. So
I
I
don't.
think it's a bit of everything.
Okay, I don't really think people actually, because we're so used to always having our phones in our hands, so you're all the time
Yes,
sort of taking that shot. Someone did this, something happened, you're there ready, but on your wedding day you're not exactly going to have your phone in your hand. But I don't really think
no, of
people
course.
actually understand that till you're actually putting the dress on and you're like, okay, so my phone, it's not coming, I guess.
Yeah,
It's like sort of from all the
yeah,
things you have to plan, that is the last thing you're going to think of, like,
yes,
dude,
yes, yes,
just.
of course.
So I do think focusing on a photographer and a videographer for a wedding is one of the most important things for me, next to like the venue and the catering,
Yes, yes, yes,
because
yes.
the,
It's
the
the one
the
thing which lives
stays
on,
with you. Exactly. I mean, if I had to mention with my sister, because she got married, and even with my brother, for example, I mean, they have the photos. Every time we meet up, we're going to talk about the photos. We're going to, oh, let's
Yeah,
get the album out. We're like, okay,
yes, yes, yes,
let's look. Oh, look how cute. Oh, see. And we just start over and over, and it never gets boring because
yes,
it's a
true,
life event.
true, true.
Now, my next question for you is for more of a personal question. You are a professional photographer,
Yes.
but I did want to ask if on your free time, what you do on your free time, and if you actually just go take your camera and just photograph for fun.
Yeah. Um, well, I mean, normally my initial response to that would be travel is what I like to do most in my free time. But of course, things are a little bit different nowadays.
You go together.
Um, I mean, yes, I mean, I do most of the time have a camera with me. To be fair, most of the time we all have a camera in our pockets. But yes, I do sort of carry my camera around a lot. What I like to do in my free time is, I mean, I have a small collection of motorcycles, and that's sort of something which I
Yes.
really, yeah, which I
Ah,
really sort
interesting.
of enjoy doing is riding bikes and taking photographs. Well, not simultaneously, of course. But also, yes, I mean, but
Sorry.
it's fine. Besides, of course, the wedding photography and photography I do for clients, I do also have my own artistic practice, where I use a lot of photography for those projects as well. And I actually tend to shoot a lot of that on film,
Okay.
on medium format film cameras. So I do actually have a fully kitted darkroom in my studio, and
Cool.
I develop and print my own work. And in a way that kind of differentiates sometimes for me, like the work I do for clients and the photography that sort of I do for
As a
my own,
hobby.
sort of for my own practice, for my own artistic practice.
Cool.
So yes, photography is always there somehow.
There's been a lot of fun facts about you today. Like I didn't know that you've lectured for a bit. I would have never expected in 100 years, looking at you, that you have a passion for bikes. Like last on, like I think you're a very modern human being. If we can
Okay.
put it that way. Like you're very advanced. Like you're always continuously learning. You're looking at
Yes,
you and just talking a bit with you, you understand that it's not just you're doing something for today, but you are actually doing it because you want to see yourself for something different or something change in the next few years, which is amazing. I love meeting people like that. So
thank
it's been
you.
a pleasure doing this interview with you.
Thank you.
Now, my next question for you is quite a bit of a fun one. Like, what are three things that you could not do without in your line of job, excluding a camera?
Yeah, exactly. Actually, what I was going to say is anything equipment based would be the obvious. I think my answers would more be people based or circumstantial, in the sense that I could not do without people trusting me. I could not do without a good dynamic between, within the situation. Um, uh, and experience. I think experience is, especially with something like a wedding or an event. I think the, the amount of experience that you have is invaluable for the simple reason that you are more adaptable and quick to react to situations that may arise.
Yeah.
You have no control, so things need to be a second nature to you. If something happens, if something goes wrong, you need to be able to be very quick. To make sure that you can keep doing the job and deliver what you promised to deliver. So I
Yeah.
think those would be very important
I think those were
aspects to me.
very interesting. No, that's actually an amazing answer. And do you actually do the photography on your own on a wedding day,
Yeah.
or do you get help with you?
No, I'm 99% of the time I work alone.
Amazing.
The only time that I have someone is if sometimes people seem to think I can be in two places at the same time. So in that case, sometimes I may bring someone on board to sort of split the locations.
Okay.
But otherwise, no, I work on my own.
All right, okay. And like I'm imagining as well, like with photography, you start from the residences and then you go in. So
Yes.
you have to start quite early because I don't really understand how you actually manage to do it, going from the brides to the grooms to the church, being there before
Yeah.
them, sort of.
Yes, yes, yes. For me, that's kind of the most stressful part, really.
Okay.
Making sure that I get somewhere in good time before. But I mean, um, at the end of the day, it's being practical and also having good communication with the client as well. I simply tell them, listen, until you see me in front of you, do not get out of the car. And I say it to
100%.
them like before they leave, so they don't forget. It's
You
okay.
put
See
them
you
like in
there.
panic mode in the car, like,
Yeah, like see you
okay.
there. When you see me, like just come out, just give me a chance to arrive. So it's also even just about kind of communicating, really. I
Yeah,
mean, they tell you what they want, so why not, sort of communicate and say, listen, so we need to kind of work together on this part.
exactly, exactly,
But
exactly.
other than that, I mean, it's fine. But that is, always, and the worst thing you can do is stress, drive fast, and because then you're putting yourself in danger. It's better to arrive, 5 minutes later than not arrive at all. Simple.
Agreed.
Um, so
100%. Cool. We are coming up to the end of the questions, Alexandra. Do you have any advice for any couples that are going to be watching this interview and other photographers that may be just starting in the wedding industry?
I think it's something I sort of briefly touched on before. I think it's very important that that everything is a good match. And whether it is for couples or whether it is for photographers, I think not everybody is my ideal client, and I am surely not the ideal photographer for everyone. So I think that's the only way for it to be a win-win situation and for everybody to be happy.
Super, super. Perfect. My last question for you today is if you have any plans for the future, for you personally, and for a perfect day.
Um, well, as you kind of caught on yourself and mentioned yourself, I'm not really a person who sits still and gets too comfortable with anything I'm doing. So but I don't have any specific answer for you for that. But I think I'm always looking for ways in which I can grow. I think it's one of the reasons why I chose or I felt that the creative career or creative industry is the best for me because it's something that does not have a fixed formula and something that can always evolve. And I think those are really the people who are always moving forward, are those who don't just sit with one way of doing things, but who grow and evolve. So, and I have been doing this for 20 years. I can never forget how long I've been doing it because it's the year. I started in '99, going to 2000. So for me,
Oh.
it's very easy. I may forget, like, my age or someone's birthday or something, but that year I can never forget because it's the year that we will be in.
It's exactly. Wow. Okay.
Yes,
Cool.
yes.
Um.
So yeah, we'll see. I'm always looking forward to see whatever the future may hold.
Amazing. I'm sure you cut off a lot of projects that you were planning or thinking of doing during the last few months you've been. So yeah, I'm guessing you have to rebuild as well this list and continue going
Probably
ahead.
yes. Probably yes.
Super.
Probably.
I mean, that is an end to all the questions I had for you, Alexandra, today. I don't know if you have any final words for us.
Well, I think it's just a sense of everybody. I know everything has been very hard for everyone this year, no matter what industry they have been in, or even if they are the ones, of course, who are getting married. It's been difficult for everyone. But I think optimism is one of the things which we should never let go of.
Yeah, super. Thank you very much for
My
accepting
pleasure.
this invitation.
Thank you for the invitation, and for everyone who has joined us as well.
Yes, exactly. Thank you to all our viewers. Thank you for answering all of my questions, including all the extra ones that I forgot to notify you about. Like, sort of, hey, I do like to come up with a lot of questions. But you've been great. I loved having you as a guest. I hope to have you again sometime soon. I
Thank
am
you.
going to wave you goodbye so we can end the show for today. So, see you soon. So there you have it, guys. Episode 24 of the Get Hitched live wedding chat show with Alexandra Pace, who is a photographer and the founder of her company, A Perfect Day. They shoot natural photography for contemporary weddings. She also does events, commercials. She does anything. So if you're looking for a natural photographer or a modern photographer, someone that maybe can even think outside the box or just give you something that's is where you don't even notice she's around, I really do recommend that you get in touch with her. You can find her on Get Hitched. She has a Get Hitched profile. You can find her by submitting a request. You can find her on her website, on Google, and on Facebook. She has, I believe, different sections where I believe A Perfect Day is more focused on weddings, but you can just get in touch with her through email and she'll guide you accordingly. Again, I'm going to say a quick thank you to everyone that's been watching the shows here on Get Hitched, on Evently, and then even on our new program, on our new show, Bookia. I hope to see you guys next time. See you.